Welcome back to another week and another edition of Political Breakfast. We are so glad that you're here and listening on WABE. I'm Lisa Rayam, and with me today are our strategists, Republican strategist Brian Robinson and Democratic strategist Tharon Johnson. Hello, hello, hello to another week, a new beginning, and one full of political news, right?
Yeah, there's not going to be one where there's not political news for a while.
For a while, right.
Very, very crazy times we live in. But, as always, Lisa, we got to start off talking about sports. And so as we tape this, I feel very optimistic about my Falcons.
You're smiling there. What?
Yeah. Well,
smiling when you talk about the Falcons, okay?
Yeah, because you got to stay optimistic. Now, what I'm worried about is that we cannot go 1-3 and 0-4. These first 4 games are hard. We got Philly, which I hope, when this airs, we won. Then we got Kansas City, got my homie coming to town. And that's what we call him, B-Rob, and the brothers. We don't refer to them as Pat Mahomes. We say, Pat Mahomie. And then, we got a New Orleans team that's on fire right now. I mean, they drilled the Dallas Cowboys. And so I'm still optimistic. And I'll let B-Rob talk about these dogs who almost gave me a heart attack. Saturday
with
night.
Kentucky. Wow.
Yeah. Well, look, and don't you have a daughter who went to Kentucky?
Yeah, and I was gonna say Kentucky is not bad at all. They really they're a pretty tough team on the rise. So but
they have a lot of.
You expect the Bulldogs to trample everybody, and that was not the case Saturday.
That you're absolutely right. I thought we'd win by 30 points, and it ended up being 1. And I would say, first of all, though, it's mighty bold for Tharon to say nice things about Falcons when we're taping before Monday Night Football and this airs after. So super bold prediction there to go there right now. But
and on national TV.
Yeah. My dogs, though. Whew, man.
Our dogs. Now, hold on. I'm a dogs fan, too.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, it wasn't mutually exclusive.
But the reason I'm doing this about the Falcons, B-Rob, because, I think that I gotta get the city motivated. I mean, people are just down about this loss with the Steelers. But go ahead about the dogs. I'm sorry.
We said they were down is that we're jaded. I mean, and we have decades of reasons to be jaded.
That's fair.
The dogs always have this game. This is what Dog Nation knows. We always have a game where it's way closer than it should be. 2 years ago, it was also Kentucky. It was in there. It was a super cold game. We barely got out of there. The year before that, it was Mizzou. So we've had these skin of our teeth games every year in games that we should have won handily. Hopefully, this means we got it behind us. We can come out against Alabama in 2 weeks and win that one. If we do, we're in good shape because we can win out or lose one to Texas and still be fine. And I'm ready to tell you, I think Texas, I'm a little nervous. I'm a lot more nervous about that game than I was before seeing us against Kentucky, where we couldn't stop them and we couldn't run or pass on them. So, yeah, a lot of growth.
Yeah, when my daughter did go to UK, so I have to shout out the Wildcats. That was a good game. Good game on their part.
And let me just say this real quick. I don't say enough good things about Kirby Smart. As you know, B-Rob, Champ Bailey is a really good friend of mine, Hall of Fame cornerback from Georgia, and he always talks about Kirby. And so for Kirby to embrace the 2 former Georgia players, I think the quarterback who won 2 national championships with them graduated from UGA and was the quarterback from Kentucky, and I think there was another player. But just, the sportsmanship of this coach to go and show the love to these 2 young student athletes that he recruited who went to another team was just first class for Kirby.
That was Brock Vandegrift, their quarterback, and Jamon Dumas Johnson, a great defender who went over because 2 freshmen kind of started before him. So both of them were
he wasn't
seeking,
playing them. So
they were seeking opportunity, but they're great players.
You had to pat him on the back.
No, at least I'm trying to show a little love to Kirby. There you go. See? Keeping it real.
No, man, that's the thing. You come to Georgia, there's so much depth. It's really hard. It's really hard to play.
Yeah,
but speaking of Georgia greats, another one is somebody that I know now, Malcolm Mitchell, a great receiver, played for the New England Patriots, and I was with him a few weeks ago, and he was like, my kid's in the same class as Tharon's kid, and I'm like,
that's true, yeah.
Why am I hearing this from you and not from
So B-Rob, as you know,
why has this not been mentioned?
No, that's a fair hit, and you're right. And he got honored, I guess, recently or something. But no, here's the thing. So we're in the class orientation, Atlanta Speech School. Shout out to that wonderful school. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at him, and I'm telling China, I'm like, I know this dude. I know who he is. And so shout out to Malcolm Mitchell and his wife.
He's awesome.
And his son is in the same class as Tyson, and came up and we chatted up, we exchanged messages, and we got to get together, Malcolm. But yeah, I took a little hiatus from the podcast, B-Rob, so it happened in that hiatus point when I was off. And then real quick, Lisa, I got to do this. Sorry, CBC Congressional Black Caucus. B-Rob used to go when he was on the Hill. Would love for you to come with me next year. You want to be around all these black men you talk about that you know so well. We were out and lit. But shout out to the entire congressional delegation of the CBC members because they're all black. So Lucy McBath, Nikema Williams, David Scott, Sanford Bishop, Hank Johnson did a wonderful job. And shout out to our Georgia-based companies. Coca-Cola did an awesome reception. Of course, Southern Company did 2 big events along with Georgia Power, Aflac, Delta, just to name 4 of those. But they, just really, really good conference. Georgia was represented. And then big shout out to our U.S. Senators, Ossoff and Warnock, hosted a great event. It was just really good energy. Georgia, we always show up in a big way for the Congressional Black Caucus. So I just want to shout out those members of Congress and also make sure I shout out those companies who give to the CBC. They not only just do parties, Lisa, but they give money to scholarships, to programs, entrepreneurship, healthcare, jobs. And so they don't get enough credit, but I wanted to take a moment just to thank them for all their support and thank the congressional delegation.
Yeah, that sounds great. And in that spirit, I'd also like to thank all of the white Congress members, too. Just, you do a great job. Thank you for everything. Carry on. Let's party. Let's have a corporate-funded party, guys. Let's do it. Let's have a big white people party.
Hey, I love the white I like the white Congress members. I talk to a lot of them, but we just have this one little 4-day week/weekend out of the year where we celebrate black excellence. So, but you did have some white members participate now in our staff. They're welcome. We're welcoming race. B-Rob.
Yeah,
Ossoff was in the building. He had a little swag. He was swagged out. His hair looked good, B-Rob. I told him I was going to report back about his hair. Always, he looked really good.
Always. Yeah. If there was a contest in the Senate, he'd win it, I think. It's
Yeah. Well, all this was taking place. The end of the weekend ends with the FBI saying that they believe there was an attempt on the life of the presidential nominee for the Republican Party, Donald Trump, while he was out playing golf yesterday.
Yeah. You almost begin to wonder if we are in another 1968 a little bit, a nation in turmoil, a nation that is divided, a nation that is experiencing internal violence. We all know what happened in 68, MLK, RFK. These are, grinching national moments. And luckily, we've avoided one of the nominees dying. One thing I'm concerned about is, and Democrats, all Americans need to be concerned about, is there being some right-wing nut who goes out there and starts shooting at Kamala Harris or Tim Walz because they feel like this is a partisan attack on their guy. Now, that's nuts. These are all crazy people that we're talking about. But I'm very concerned. I do not know what's going to happen to our country if either Harris or Trump is hurt by a bullet. It is going to be super bad. So we're still waiting to hear more about this. We do have some news, a little more than we ever had about the guy in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And I know y'all don't kind of see the conspiratorial stuff that you see in Republican circles, but I would say a lot of Republican chatter on social media is about how why have we heard nothing about this kid in Pennsylvania? There's something obviously deeper here. There's some deeper rot, some deeper corruption, some conspiracy. And I think in this case, we're already hearing a little bit more about this guy, that he's somebody who, for example, was
they put his picture right out there.
Trying to recruit people to go fight in Ukraine.
What's his?
It's a North Carolina guy.
Yeah, his picture was out. Yeah, maybe.
And I think he's bonkers. He just seems to be absolutely bonkers. But he was out trying to recruit people to fight in Ukraine, and so I wondered if maybe he didn't like Trump's answer on Ukraine in the debate last week. I don't know. But this guy doesn't seem to be a left-wing activist because he seems to be sort of like eccentric in his views.
Yeah, everyone's life is precious, and it's becoming unnerving just to see this happen back to back. and where and when does it stop? Tharon, any thoughts?
Well, Lisa, I agree. Listen, political violence, attempted assassinations is just something that is very, very concerning to all of us as Americans. And I was very happy and proud to see the vice president come out right away and say, hey, I am happy that Donald Trump is safe. This type of attempted assassinations, gun violence, political hate has no place in this country. So let's get to where we are. I mean, just touch on something that Brian talked about. The rallies that we knew from this point are no more. I mean, and so we just thought that this could only happen at a rally. But now, just, as far as us golfers, for the Secret Service person to spot the barrel of the gun holes ahead of where President Trump was going to play was something pretty remarkable. And had this not been spotted, I mean, from what I've heard, the former president plays pretty fast. He's a decent golfer, good golfer. So he's not like hidden in the woods all the time. Now, I've heard stories that sometimes if his ball goes in the woods, it'll miraculously show back up in the fairway. Some of his golf courses that he out showing. B Rob is laughing because I think he's heard some of those. So maybe heard some of those same stories too. But here's where I'm like, Lisa, this is where we are in the country. I would traditionally want to say and think that I wouldn't get any pushback if I shouted out this Secret Service person saying, hey, thank you for spotting the shooter. But then, as Brian alluded to, there's all these conspiracy theories within the Republican Party about the lack of funding, the lack of safety concerns about the former president. And one thing that was very highlighted is that Trump does not get the same level of security than a sitting president. And while his security has been enhanced since the last attempted assassination, this could have been really bad. And so, yes, if you're on any campaign right now, whether not just presidential, we have people that get so upset, so much hatred, so much emotional, just mental illness. Clearly, that it literally would drive them to try to kill a human being, but more importantly, a former president. So I'm very concerned. I think we need to come together as Republicans, Democrats, independents, and libertarians, show the country that we're united, because we got a long way to go before this presidential election is over. And then I hate to say this, Lisa, but you know where I'm going. I'm even worried about if this is what we're dealing with while the campaign is sort of going on, then what are we going to deal with after the campaign and then leading up to the inauguration?
Yeah, depending on the outcome.
Just depending on the outcome.
Yeah. Former President Trump seems to have really thick skin, but I'm sure this is bothering him at this point. Do you think, 2 attempts in 2 months?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be keeping him from continuing on with public-facing events. But, you've got to think there's going to be a continued clampdown. I remember growing up when they put the big fence around the White House. Used to be able to, there's kind of a big lawn there that was sort of public access. And it was kind of during some protests, I guess, around the Gulf War, that far back. And we have these, it's symbolic of our presidents becoming more and more away from the people that they represent, more cloistered because of security reasons. But I think it detaches them from the people to some degree. I don't think that we have any alternative at this juncture, but I think that's one of the many, many unfortunate side effects of this interpersonal violence that we've seen with elected officials. So let's just hope and pray nothing happens to either one of these guys, because it's going to be super bad. I mean, I know I hear Democrats whisper, and like some like never Trump Republicans whisper, like, wouldn't it be better if they just got him? No, absolutely not. It would just be,
that's terrible.
It would be awful.
Yeah,
there would Democrats who hate him that much. I would say be careful what you wish for, because there's going to be a well of sympathy and a backlash on it. And I'm not saying either one of you are calling for that, right?
Just imploded, But
it is so bad for our country right now. If anything like that happened, there is the personal tragedy of any person being hurt, but then there's the broader thing of the impact on 330 million Americans. And that is super, super scary.
But Lisa, let me say this as a Democrat. I have not had any of my Democratic friends dare say that to me, that they wish that they had got him. So I want to make sure, B-Rod, well, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think there are people, not just Democrat, you just said it, there are some never Trumper Republicans out there that may spew that hate. But that has not come up amongst my friends. What we talk about as Democrats is it's exactly following what the vice president said. You know, we don't want anybody to be harmed. I mean, you know, we haven't talked about this, but you know, you saw the candidates not only shake hands at the debate, where I was very proud that the vice president went over to extend her hand to him, and he
that was the
fine.
first time they met in public.
First time they met, and then you saw them at the 9/11.
Yeah, in person.
Yeah, in person, right. And then you saw the 9/11 memorial, which we can't forget, that tragic day, and they shook hands there. So I think there's been an effort by both campaigns, at least with the candidates, to try to be as civil and as diplomatic as possible. But we got to make sure that doesn't come out, because that's not going to do any of us any good. And Lisa, let me just say this. I mean, again, I am extremely concerned about this because it's something going on in this country where people are literally concocting how to kill someone, right? But then more importantly, during a time where we have such an important election ahead of us, and if I'm Donald Trump right now, I think you're right. He's upset. I'm sure his family is in fear
worried
for their lives and his life. And this is something that he likes to do. I mean, everyone knows that Donald Trump loves to play golf. And so for this identified person who was leading this attempted assassination to sort of be able to post up, it leads to another question.
There.
Yeah, how are we? And again, you have to support the Secret Service, have to support our women and men in law enforcement, but it's clear that it's got to be sort of better coordination along the perimeters and places where you are going to identify where the candidate is going to be. Brian knows this. He's worked with gubernatorial races. I know he's been on presidential details. You know, I worked for two former presidents, current president and former president. We just never thought that anyone would get that close. I mean, Secret Service has been historically, and I still believe, just so
not
detailed.
In 2024.
Not in 2024. So with the level, with the use of technology, and I think shout out, because, you know, I don't know this name either. You know, B-Rob be holding the names of people sometimes, but he just helped. He just helped me again with the football players. So thank you for that.
Down, can you?
No, I'm teasing him. We talked about it off air. No, guys, no, we're not beefing. Me and B-Rob, we talked about it off air. But no, the witness apparently who saw the attempted, the suspect for the attempted assassination.
Got the license plate number.
Yeah, license plate number. I mean, this is where we got good people in this country where, you know, if you see something, you say something. So, you know, thank you to that person.
Yeah. J.D. Vance, his running mate, will be in Georgia tonight, and I bet that'll be the topic of discussion. You know, we've gun control and gun safety has been a hot topic here in Georgia, you know, recently with the shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder recently. So I think it's going to be on the agenda of many candidates at this juncture.
Well, last week we saw Speaker Burns come out in response to the Apalachee shooting with some ideas for reform, stuff that is consensus built, stuff that kind of avoids the more divisive issues, but state incentives for safe stores, so being able to go and buy the gun safe and get a tax discount for that purchase, increasing the communication between school districts and law enforcement so that someone who is a troubled student, someone who has shown signs that are concerning, that if they change schools, that new school district is aware of the potential problems to keep an eye on this student. It does look now in this particular case where, despite the fact that the Jackson County Sheriff's Office did an investigation, they did it largely by the book, according to an FBI source that I've heard from. It does look like there was an assumption that this information had been communicated to the Jefferson City schools, and it actually was not. Jefferson was saying, no, we have no record of that. The sheriff has acknowledged in interviews, well, I thought that had happened. It appears it didn't. I appreciate her transparency and forthrightness when it comes to that. But nevertheless, in a county with in a state with 159 counties and 181 school districts, I believe, we have a lot of local government and a lot of stovepiping. So to break down those walls and to make sure that these districts communicate with each other, to create a database where when a kid comes in, a signal is given to that school. Like, this kid was investigated by local authorities. This kid has a criminal history, whatever. That's got to happen. And then lastly, mental health access, something that is near and dear to Speaker Burns' heart, and something that is a carrying on, building on the legacy of former Speaker David Ralston, who really did some monumental change when it came to how the state approaches mental health care. And so these are all consensus-based ideas. We haven't heard Kemp weigh in. We haven't heard Lieutenant Governor Jones weigh in. I would love to see them all come together and have a unified front. And want to hear Tharon's take on this. But I'd also like to circle back to one House district, State House district, with Representative Deborah Silcox, because she has spoken out with a view that's a little bit different than the rest of the Republican caucus.
So, Lisa, what I really hope that vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance would do when he's in town is to really speak in a unified tone. Yes, there was an attempt at assassination. This is also a man who's made some very, very inappropriate comments that was amplified after the debate, where he is the one that we're hearing now that started sort of the rumors about Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs. I mean, this happened in his state, and he's actually, sort of gotten a lot of pushback. And it's sort of admitted, and keep me honest here, B-Rob, that he kind of didn't really have all his facts together. He just wanted to talk about it because he felt like the media wasn't reporting it enough, and so he just got it out there. And so this senator has had some tough times, Lisa. I mean, his inappropriate comments about childless cat ladies. I can't tell you how many women that I know, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, who are childless women, single. And many of them, they remind me, Lisa, they're single because they want to be. Yeah, and hold on, some of them had a cat. And the ones that don't have a cat, Lisa, they don't went out and got a cat. Like, so I was like, did you have a cat before this? And so I think cat sales are
this
up.
Has been great. This is great. Yeah,
in homeless.
Yeah, things are great for cats everywhere except for Springfield, Ohio, where they are on a run.
They are rock stars now.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Don't go to Springfield.
Don't go to Springfield, right?
Oh,
So what I'm saying to you all is, and B-Rob, if you can get a message to this guy, he's been a liability for the Trump campaign since the day he was announced. Now, there are some things that he will do good. I mean, let's not forget, remember, he walked up on the vice president's plane. Like, he was going to go over there and do something.
Yeah.
Some
people say he's too much like Trump. I don't know. Is that the feeling? He's too much like Trump?
Well,
I don't know
Trump. Trump is kind of, and I'm not calling him a gangster, but he's got some gangster tendencies, right? Like, Trump is pretty hardcore. I mean, let's just be honest, right? J.D. Vance is trying to be this hard guy, but where I'm going with this is, he cannot miss his opportunity. If he comes to Georgia with the typical MAGA right type of tone, that's very divisive, that's attacking Kamala Harris and Governor Walz, and don't take this moment to unify the state, do exactly what Brian just did. Talk about ways that the federal government can work better with state and local jurisdictions to make sure that the technology, the protocol, the reporting processes that have been in place, how we can prevent these mass shootings from happening in the future. This is a one time for him to come here and try to unite. So let's go back to something that, Brian mentioned earlier, what Speaker Burns last week came out. And, we kind of text about this. And many of you all who listen to this podcast know that I was very emotional last week. And I sort of called out Republicans and Democrats and got a lot of responses from my Democratic friends about that, because they were quick to tell me what they were doing. They were quick to tell me that they had press conferences. Emmanuel Jones, shout out to a senator from DeKalb County. I think he maybe have a little bit of Clayton, who did a hearing about gun storage, right? But the speaker, as always, lately has set the tone. And, while I do think it goes far, it doesn't go as far as we as Democrats want him to go, but it was at least a good step forward. I joined Brian in calling on the governor and lieutenant governor and the minority leaders in the House, in the Senate, and the majority leaders to come together as a unified front and show the Georgia public that this is a priority. And you're going to see Democrats come out this week and sort of say, hey, we commend the speaker for doing this, but these are some other measures that he can sort of sign on to. But it was the good step forward. I just want to see more. And then I think that, again, I've said this on this podcast. I mean, this is a great opportunity for Democrats to continue to show leadership. And I think that some who've told me privately that they're hearing a lot from their constituents. But, shout out to my mother, who I got to make sure I get this in now, who's going to be turning 80. And when I was driving to Athens, coming home with China and my two boys, I kind of wanted to show China how close Barrow County was to where we just left. And it's literally right down the street on 316, which is a sort of a highway that we use. And then, it just hit home for me, Lisa, because now, what are we going to do to make sure that those families are getting through this grief? These are two teachers, two students who were killed. And so I just hope that J.D. Vance will come to town, show respect to those families, provide some bipartisan solutions to deal with this. And yes, he's going to have to try to win the election. So you're going to hear him talk all this bad stuff. But I think that if he doesn't take those steps that Brian just did and to really explain to the people things that did not go right, there were some things that did not happen that should have happened, but there were some good things that happened as well, then I think that, that's going to be a missed opportunity for the Republicans in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, Tim Walz coming to town as well this week. He'll be in
Coach Walz.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
So he'll probably, earlier, Brian, you talked about Speaker Ralston, and I was like, boy, that's a voice that's missed, right? And I'm thinking, what would Speaker Ralston be saying, about all of this right now? No slight on Speaker Burns, because I think he's doing a great job. But what would Ralston say?
Speaker Ralston really was a great leader and a visionary, and but also a pragmatist. He was a conservative, but a pragmatist. And he was very serious about addressing the problems of everyday Georgians. That's why he had all this passion about mental health care and access to it and building up the infrastructure that's needed. And Speaker Burns has picked up that mantle, and he too is a great pragmatist.
And he does it well. He does.
He's
but
a great
Ralston,
pragmatist.
that baritone voice, and
yes, absolutely.
It just made everybody stop and listen.
He looked the part for sure, and he is greatly missed. He was a beloved figure. And just really, to have survived, he had that office from 2010 till his death, which I believe was in 2020.
Longest serving, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So he was.
I think he was the longest.
Well, he was the longest serving in the country at the time. Yeah, at the time.
Yeah.
Speaker Murphy, of course, was like 28, 29 years, something like that. Yeah. But on J.D. Vance, I do want to say this. He's going to come in and speak to a religious group, so religious conservatives. It really is his sweet spot. This is kind of where he is most natural and organic. They see eye to eye on a lot of these social issues. So I think he's going to be in a comfortable spot there with them. And I think a lot of the attacks on him, Tharon's right that he's getting beat up. And I tell you, I don't when I see what he does, I'm like, well, that wasn't that bad. There was this thing in Valdosta where he went into this donut shop, and it was super awkward because the worker didn't know they were coming, and she didn't want to be on camera, and it was awful. But that's just bad advance work by the campaign. That's not his fault. He got put in a bad spot there. Tharon and we're staffers, man, for a long time. We know this is all supposed to be covered on the front end. You're not supposed to put your principal out there and have a bad visual. The cat lady stuff was said long before he was the VP nominee for the Republicans. That was kind of pulled out of his past. I don't think he would say that now, because obviously it's been the traction it has gotten. Taylor Swift posing with a cat in her Instagram post endorsing Kamala.
Tay-Tay.
I don't know. Trump came out over the weekend saying he hates Taylor Swift.
Yeah, unnecessary. This woman is the largest worldwide mogul. Okay, beyond Beyonce. Okay, There's no one beyond
yeah.
Beyonce, okay?
Yeah.
B-Rob. There's no one bigger than Tay-Tay, as China refers to her,
How
right?
many? She has
Yeah.
like 230 million
and
Twitter
so
followers or something.
And then why
like
does
that.
he hate her? Now I do get a little tired. I'm probably gonna get in trouble here with some of my Chief fans, but I do get a little
At the
tired.
football game.
No. I know what Trump was thinking. Now I'm gonna go in Trump's head for a second here, right? He's watching the game, and we're all watching the Chiefs, Burrhead, and we're gonna see if they're gonna walk in there. And then every time there's a touchdown,
There's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Lisa, it could be a first down, it could be a hard hit, it could be a possible targeting. They just pan to Tay-Tay. And my thing is, look, Tay-Tay, we know you riding with your boy Kelsey, you in the box, but I just want to watch the football. But I would never go on Twitter or X or whatever he did, his platforms.
Yeah.
But B-Rob, I think like JD Vance is just not doing anything in Trump to help with women. And that's why Nikki Haley, I got to get this in, Nikki Haley, all right, who many Republicans still follow, and many believe that if she were the nominee, that she would have been a better choice against Joe Biden. I think that Kamala Harris in the Nikki Haley debate, oh my God, that would have been fireworks, much better than this debate that we just witnessed. Mm-hmm. But why are they continuing to insult and alienate women voters? I just don't get it. Just let Taylor Swift endorse Kamala Harris. And then Trump messes up the Puerto Rican icon, thought that he was a lady, brings him to the stage, and is actually a man. I mean, it's all this stuff that you're right, Brian. The campaign is being run terribly under Trump's side.
That's a good cliffhanger. We're going to end this episode, and we're going to pick up where we left off right here for our second edition of Political Breakfast that you can hear later this week.